Hi, I'm Micah Halpern. Thank you for joining me today as I do some thinking out loud. Our first segment is called Background Briefing. The first thing I've been thinking about is the need to push anti-Semitism, or what I call Jew hatred, back into the darkness. It's no small feat, but it must be done. Worldwide, Jew hatred continues to rise, to flourish, to rear its vile and bigoted head. I've said it before and I'll say it again now. What we are witnessing is not anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism was predicated on an ideology. This scourge is Jew hatred in its purest and ugliest form, sheer hatred. Those of us who live in the United States are lucky, or at least luckier. The hatred runs deeper in Europe than it does in the United States. From universities to organizations to main streets, we are hated. Speaking Hebrew can get you assaulted. Wearing a kippah or a necklace adorned with a Magen David, can get you canceled. A text favorable of Israel can get Jews banished by so-called friends and co-workers. That yellow ribbon that means so much, that in of itself speaks volumes, can get the Jewish wearer banned. Working together, Jews and lovers of Israel must unite to push the evil of anti-Semitism back into the darkness. Together, we need to overwhelm the Jew haters of the world. Think of it as a numbers game. Think of it as a war against hatred. If you count every Jew, there are simply not enough of us to make the difference. We must enlist the help of non-Jews to fight this evil infestation plaguing civilized societies. It is non-Jews who are needed to do the heavy lifting here. The reality is that the voices and cries of Israelis and non-Israeli Jews are no longer paid attention to with regard to Jew hatred and anti-Semitism. We've become a broken record. We are considered kvetchers, complainers, not victims. To stop Jew hatred from becoming part of the fabric of U.S. culture and world culture, Jews must seek out partners and empower non-Jews to spread the word that anti-Semitism is unacceptable. Clergy, artists, influencers, musicians, and athletes must be brought into our fold. They have the audience, the following, and the forums with which to spread the word to stop anti-Semitism. We need ministers and priests telling their flock that Jew hatred is unacceptable. We need songs and video shorts upload onto social media explaining the horror of Jew hatred and extolling the importance of uprooting the hatred and embracing Jews and Israel. Major campaigns must be waged using artists, musicians, and athletes to embrace the beauty of Judaism and the condemnation of Jew hatred. Pop figures have huge impacts on our society and our future, on people under the age of 35. People who are tethered to their devices, their phones and tablets, who gain knowledge of the world through the short snippets presented by those they follow, those whose ideas they take on as their own. There should be no doubt that the rise of anti-Semitism is a precursor to society's destruction. Martin Niemöller, the German theologian and Lutheran pastor, he was sent to German concentration camps for opposing the Nazi regime. After the war, Pastor Niemöller traveled throughout Europe condemning Nazism and extolling the importance of human rights. In 1946, after the war, Niemöller published a confessional prose piece, which many people considered to be a poem. It is not a poem. It began with the words, "First they came for the socialist, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist." It continues, and then to the trade unionists. "Finally, they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me." Niemöller was condemning inaction, silence. He admitted that he was actually pro-Nazi for a period, and even voted for Adolf Hitler in 1933 because he was anti-communist. After Hitler assumed power, Niemöller's perspective changed, and he became a staunch critic of Nazism, and he landed in Nazi prison camps for 7 years. When a society uses Jews as scapegoats, the society begins to unravel. Germany and the Soviet Union are modern examples of this. Spain and Portugal, other examples from an earlier period. And there are many, many more examples in antiquity. When the Greeks and the Romans subjugated their Jews, their empires began to fall. And who can forget ancient Egypt? It is time to repel Jew hatred. It is time to recruit others to join that cause. If not now, when? Coming up next, points of view. I want to show you two pieces from the Wall Street Journal today, one from a column and one an interview that's in the opinion pages. First up is a column entitled Three Big Lies About the Israel-Hamas War, subtitled, Even People I Respect Are Repeating These Foolish Notions, by Bernard-Henri Lévy. It was published on September 3rd, 2025. Lévy is one of the greatest political thinkers / philosophers in the world today. He is really brilliant and totally insightful. He lives in France and comes to the United States frequently, as well as visits Israel regularly. This piece was translated from the French. This is how Lévy begins. Foolish notions about Israel are being repeated morning and night, relayed by high international authorities, validated by respectable organizations, among them Action Against Hunger, which I helped found it. They're echoed by one of my friends, the Israeli author David Grossman, who 30 years ago helped me launch La Regale des Jeux, a journal that supports every struggle for freedom. Yet they remain foolish notions. 3 examples. Lévy now lists the outright lies being spread by serious people. He is stunned at people he knows and respects who have embraced these awful canards against Jews in Israel. He writes, bullet point, and this is a quote, Israel is reoccupying Gaza. True, he says, 2 ministers, Benjamin Netanyahu's government, have said without shame that they dream of doing so, but this isn't the strategy of the Israel Defense Forces or the position of the government. Whether one likes Netanyahu or not, the least one can do is listen. On Fox News on August 7th, he said he wants the IDF to drive out Hamas and take control of Gaza, but without administering it and handing it to a civil government as soon as possible. We do not want to keep Gaza. We do not want to govern Gaza. How could he be clearer? How could he better say that his war aims don't contradict those of Ariel Sharon, who left the Palestinian enclave in 2005? One can be horrified by this war. One can find it causes on both sides far too many victims. One can wonder if everything is being done to bring back the hostages. But one can't say just anything. One can't keep repeating ad nauseum a perpetual j'accuse tone that Israel is occupying Gaza. Now Lévy gives another example, this one about famine. He simply does not understand how people can say this. He writes, again, bullet point, quote, Israel is using famine as a weapon of war, unquote. In Gaza, he writes, look at the hundreds of trucks that have passed inspection, with Israelis ensuring that they are not carrying weapons. These trucks don't wait at the border crossings. They wait inside Gaza. And then what happens? At one point, the United Nations agencies charged the aid distribution couldn't prevent them from being looted by Hamas or gangs linked to it. Then the US, and then Israel and the United States set up Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, to which the UN agencies replied, no thanks. The starving can wait. We won't touch that bread. We will not collaborate with those people. Then Israel agreed to work with the officials, agencies, if they purged their ranks of Hamas activists. And the agencies replied that Gaza was too dangerous. Then Israel offered to open humanitarian corridors 10 hours a day in areas including Amawasi, Deir al-Balah, and Gaza City. The agencies demanded Israeli military convoys, even as they accused the Israeli military of engineering a famine. The last example he gives is the genocide canard. Henri Lévy says that it is simply not true, but it's repeated over and over again. He writes, who honestly must be blamed for this tragic failure? And who will break this vicious circle of bad faith in which, As usual, civilians pay the price. Bullet point quote, Israel is committing genocide, unquote, in Gaza. True, there are pyramids of the dead, children killed in the flower of their age, and not enough pressure on Hamas and its sponsors to stop this atrocious war. But words have meaning. To say genocide means a plan, a deliberate targeted initiative to destroy a people. That isn't what the Israeli army is doing. Perhaps it's raising the war badly, though who would do better in an asymmetric conflict when enemy's goal isn't to minimize casualties on its own side, but to maximize them? So that every martyr is a trophy and a reason to continue a fight whose aim is not a state for Palestinians, but no state at all for the Israelis. A genocidal army doesn't take 2 years to win a war in a territory the size of Las Vegas. A genocidal army doesn't send SMS warnings before firing or facilitate the passage of those trying to escape the strikes. A genocidal army wouldn't evacuate every month hundreds of Palestinian children suffering from rare diseases or cancer, sending them to hospitals in Abu Dhabi as part of a medical airlift set up right after October 7th. To speak of genocide in Gaza is an offense to common sense, a maneuver to demonize Israel, and an insult to the victims of genocide, past and present. This is an excellent column, straight, short, and to the point. Omri Levi is a proud liberal thinker who is simply devastated by friends and colleagues who are lying and blind to the truth because they hate Jews and Israel so much. Next up is an interview from the op-ed pages of the Wall Street Journal. It's entitled, Better PR Can Be a Trap for Israel. Subtitled, Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar says that strategy and survival have to come first. It's written by Elliot Kaufman, published on August 26, 2025, and the interview for Minister Sa'ar took place in New York City in the Ritz-Carlton. This is how Kaufman begins. Israel's despisers imagine that its leaders are sadists, but only masochists who want Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar's job. After 22 months of war sparked by Hamas death squads on October 7th, many worry Israel has hit a diplomatic low, even as it has ascended to strategic heights. Better than the other way around, though, and one can't help but suspect the two are related. Had Israel quit the war a year ago, its reputation could have been recovering across the West. But Hamas was then in control of most of Gaza, and Hezbollah was unbowed in Lebanon, its full missile arsenal aimed at Israel to deter a strike on Iran's nuclear program. Under those circumstances, forget about the June sorties to Fordo and Tehran. Kaufman now explains who Sa'ar is and shows some of the nuance and complexity of Israeli politics, which is so often way too oversimplified. He explains that Sa'ar was in the opposition and then joins the unity government, then leaves that and comes back home to Likud, where originally he began his political career before having a fallout with Bibi over succession. Now, Sa'ar is the foreign minister. Kaufman writes, Mr. Sa'ar, who is now must catch the flack from Israel's choices, was in the opposition until October 7th. He joined the unity government, but left in March 2024 after his counsel had gone unheeded. Upon rejoining in November, he was made foreign minister. Mr. Sa'ar is pensive, a serious man in the cabinet not known for them. Our Monday interview at the Ritz-Carlton begins with why he broke ranks with Israel's opposition. Reality, he says, the differences between Israel's Zionist parties today will be viewed historically as insignificant and marginal in comparison to the challenges we are facing. This is a post-October 7th realization. Mr. Sa'ar had challenged Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for the Likud leadership in 2019 and left the party the next year, calling it a cult of personality. When he rejoined the government, erstwhile admirers called him a flip-flopper and a traitor. Mr. Sa'ar in turn decried the sanctimony on their lips and obsession with ousting Netanyahu in their hearts, as if we hadn't gone through the hardest year in our history. Kaufman illustrates Sa'ar's insider change philosophy, that you have to be inside to make changes. This is what he writes. Mr. Sa'ar chose to, quote, try to change things from the inside, unquote. He says he rejoined the Likud this month. I'm still in the government, even when I sometimes have disputes. At this point in the interview, Sar addresses world affairs and countries deciding to recognize a Palestinian state. He explains that all the conditions, including peace, fell away, and now after October 7th, these countries just want to declare a Palestinian state, Palestinian statehood. Kaufman writes, quoting Sar, after France announced that it would recognize a Palestinian state, Hamas hardens its stance, shutting down hostage ransom negotiations. But after Israel began the Gaza City operation, and it said it would stop only for the release of all the hostages, the terrorists suddenly offered to accept the partial hostage deal that they had earlier spurned. When Hamas praises you, as it did with Emmanuel Macron, France's president, it speaks for itself. Mr. Sar says, after U.S. Ambassador Charles Kushner sounded an alarm in these pages about Mr. Macron's failure to address anti-Semitic violence, France reprimanded Mr. Kushner for interference in France's internal affairs. On Israeli affairs, Mr. Macron has no such compunction. Mr. Sar calls it the height of hypocrisy. He marvels at how left-of-center governments in the UK, France, Canada, and Australia came to the conclusion that they need to recognize a Palestinian state now. In the beginning, it was supposed to be under certain conditions. If the Palestinians would make peace. Instead, they made war. And all the conditions were forgotten. He says, the states plan to make their recognition official in September. Sar uses Hamas's own words, saying that October 7th is bringing forth a Palestinian state. He writes, Hamas said recognition is the fruit of October 7th. Mr. Sar notes, France et al. Protest otherwise, but Palestinians remember that before October 7th, France and the UK hadn't recognized anything. So what's their conclusion supposed to be? Many Europeans cannot understand that the Palestinians, all the factions, their ideology is to eliminate the Jewish state, he says. It is a nice term, two-state solution. First of all, you have a solution. But when you ask, do you want a terror state? It becomes a different conversation. Mr. Sar also says, but Mr. Kushner doesn't. Europe today has a huge Muslim communities. There are already cells of radical Islam there. It has an effect. Sar now explains Israel's success. He explains that Israel has restored its reputation that was hurt badly after October 7th. Mr. Sar describes Israel's war as successful, generally speaking. He begins with the basics. We restored Israel's image of strength after the low point of October 7th. But it's not only an image, it's reality. Sar now explains that diplomatically, Israel has been hurt. President Trump, though, has been supportive. Kaufman writes, the diplomatic hits keep coming, however, including from close allies, Germany and the United States, where most Democrats have turned against the Jewish state, while President Trump has been as strong as Israel could ask for. He won't always call the shots. Of course, we're in a very tough diplomatic battle. Mr. Sar says, we're a small nation. We are standing against huge propaganda, but take into consideration that the current reality comes after a consistent 2 years of war. I want to hope it won't last the same temperature on calmer days. We will finish this war. Sar explains that there is room for Israel to compromise, but within reason. He writes, Israel has room to compromise, Mr. Sar allows, but we will not risk real interests for a temporary period of quiet and better PR. He says, I still recall how Israel had great PR after the unilateral withdrawal from Gaza Strip in 2005. Everyone in the UN building stood to shake the hand of Ariel Sharon, then Prime Minister. In conclusion, Sar says, most important is for Israel to secure its survival. Only after that can they worry about what other people think. This is what he says. In general, Mr. Sar says, we need to survive first. After that, there comes popularity and how much we're able to convince others around the world. Later he catches himself and adds, I'm not saying diplomacy shouldn't be taken into consideration. I am the last to say that. I'm foreign minister. This is an elucidating column which gives true insight. Thank you, Elliot Kaufman and Gidon Saar. Coming up, commentary through cartoons, where pictures tell the story. I'm going to show you 4 cartoons today. The first is the press asking Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, Mr. Prime Minister, don't you think what they are doing in Gaza is nefarious, criminal, murderous, genocide, the same as Nazism? The PM responds, anti-Semitic. This is a typical, terrible, awful cartoon. We see them all over. Next up is an adaptation of the famous Rodin sculpture, The Thinker. He is in all different positions thinking. The cartoon is entitled Serialism, a play on surrealism. Rodin, The Thinker, is divided Syria, Shara, Druze, Israel, etc. It was published actually in London. This third sardonic cartoon is entitled Target Audience, has starving people holding up targets. The cartoon has a caption at the bottom, Target Audience, Gaza aid seeker, killed IDF. And this final cartoon is Bibi on a dinosaur, and the cartoon is entitled Jurassic World Order. Bibi looks like Fred Flintstone with a club, which is actually a missile with a Star of David on it. The cartoon caption reads, Jurassic Order, Netanyahu, Gaza, Flintstone War equals dinosaur. In a moment, more of my own perspective and a few predictions. Police arrested a suspect in his 20s from East Jerusalem following footage circulated on social media showing the man claiming he works in an Israeli ice cream factory and saying, we spit in their ice cream, we put our fingers in it, and the Jews eat it. Police are investigating this as a possible motive of racism. That would be an understatement. According to data from the Central Bureau of Statistics published by Or Yarok, which means green light, the number of road accidents, fatalities in the summer of 2025 reached a 20-year high. Compared to last year, there was an alarming increase of 8.4%. In the summer of 2024, 107 people were killed on the roads, while this year the number climbed to 116. Since the beginning of 2025 until the end of August, 309 people have died in road accidents. During the same period last year, 297 fatalities were on the road, marking a 4% increase. Deaths by car accidents are a serious plague in Israel. We've been thinking out loud about a lot today. Now that you know what I've been thinking, let me know what you're thinking. Email me at micah@jbstv.org. Tweet me at Micah Halpern. Tell me what you think. Before we end, let me leave you with one piquant piece of information. On September 5th, 2025, the Israeli national basketball team was invited to a chamber orchestra concert as a send-off to the Euro Basketball Championship. The players were sleeping during the concert until this happened. Watch this 2-minute clip. That was truly inspiring. Loved it. Thank you for thinking out loud with me, Micah Halpern. Let's think out loud again next week on JBS.